I suppose what it comes down to is, should the elites in business or the elites in government have more say over how much we have to pay for healthcare?
No.
Welcome back, Patriots. Well, in this segment of the test, we get a tale of two Californias. First kid up's going to school for writing. He wants to become a scriptwriter for television. Good luck with that kid. But he's, you can tell by his own admission that his family's split, Democrat and Republican. He's in the middle of a lot of these conversations, and you can see it in his thinking. Actually, a pretty nice kid. It's a good conversation. I wish I could say the same for the second California couple there. The mother of that poor child is insane. It's amazing the poor girl could even function at all, but she is actually smarter than her mother, but that ain't saying much considering. So you know what you do. If you like it, you like it. If you care, you share. If you can contribute. All of that is needed. Hitting the like buttons. I gotta repeat all that stuff all over again. You know what the hell to do. And of course, pray for me. Okay, I'll see you in the flip end.
So how do you lean politically?
Liberal.
Liberal?
Yeah. But, after the fucking DNC, tried to force Hillary on the entirety of the Democrats, I just go by independent.
Yeah. And then there's a whole other aspect. It's a strong left. Far push left. You got the Cortezes now kind of leading as opposed to the moderates that will be in there. Well, so the hypocrisy test comes down to this. It's like, there are a lot of things, and especially the media right now is heavily leaning left. But let's say, if we're talking about liberalism right now, we have transvestites and gays lecturing us on morality. Do you find that hypocritical at all?
Well, I'll be completely honest with you. I don't think about it much at all.
But don't you think that's, it's almost like, back in the day, I was a liberal Democrat back in the day, and it was like, live and let live, whatever the hell you want to do. As long as you're not hurting anybody. But they didn't celebrate it. Now it's sort of like, they pushed abnormal to not, they're trying to make it not just acceptable, but like, they got trainee book tours for crying out loud. They got, when you go and start talking to 5- and 6-year-olds and having, 30, 40-year-old transvestites, that's getting a little bit weird, right? So, again, was that a little bit critical? All right, you have abortionists lecturing us on human rights. Find that a little bit hypocritical?
I actually have this conversation quite frequently because my dad's side, they're all staunch Republicans, and my mom's side, they're all staunch Democrats. I'm stuck somewhere in the middle. But, if a trans person is telling me not to be trans, then I feel like that's a bit hypocritical. But if somebody's talking to me about, health care or making school more affordable for people my age, I honestly don't care who it comes from.
Yeah, but we're talking about abortion. We're talking about, human rights. It's my human, it's my body. But what about the baby? When you're talking about a baby and a body.
Yeah.
What about their human rights?
Yeah, that's a complicated one. Because, it's like somebody very close to me got raped. And, rapist, nothing happens to him, but she winds up pregnant. And I know that if the people on the other side of the fence had their way, she would have had to raise a kid, and she's barely able to put herself through college.
Well, that's
now.
an extreme because I think it's a very small percentage, and I can understand. Of course, that was forced upon her, but in the instance, there are waiting lists for adoption. She doesn't have to raise the kid; she can put it up for adoption. Now we have socialists lecturing us on economics. Find that a little bit hypocritical.
I think that a lot of these things are impossible to. I mean, maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. I have no idea. I personally, I'm not well versed enough in economics to have any sort of substantiated opinion.
Well, let me give you 101. You can't name a socialist country that has ever made it. I just had a conversation with a young lady from Venezuela, and of course, Venezuela used to be one of the richest countries in the world.
Well, man, I'm Danish. My family's all from Denmark, and they seem to be pretty happy.
Yeah, but Danish is not socialist. They have socialist programs, but they make their money through capitalism.
They're predominantly socialist.
Yeah, but they made their money through their capitalist country that heavily taxes the people to socialist programs. But they make their money from capitalism.
But would you be comfortable with that if we made our money predominantly capitalistically, however adopted similar social programs to help the less?
On a very limited basis, I'm a staunch believer that the free market will give you more choices and lower prices, and so on a very, things like, all right, the fire department, sure, socially, all right, so on a very limited basis. But when you get into things like healthcare, or then we're talking about that's going too far, because anything that becomes centralized, typically you lose choice. It takes it away and puts it into the power of the elites.
I suppose what it comes down to is, should the elites in business or the elites in government have more say over how much we have to pay for healthcare?
No. I would emphatically no. Again, of the personal choice, we should have the right to say what's in our over our bodies.
Yeah.
If you don't want health care, fine, you don't get it. Well, hell, you got to pay for it out of your own pocket. That's just the way it goes. But you can't expect someone else to pay for it. But if you have I spoke to a professor earlier today in medical care.
Sure.
And I asked him what would be your fix. And he said, it's a tough one because it's very complicated. But the first words out of his mouth were, more free market. We need more free market.
I feel like, if the government's going to make it mandatory for us to have health care, they should give us an affordable option. I work full time and I still can't afford it.
Well, indeed, and that's what I said. But if there were more of a choice, in other words, if you could shop around for an affordable health care, because then people are going to fight for your business. They're going to say, I'm going to try and give you the best deal I can. You can shop around and say, well, hell, I'm going to get it for those guys because I can get it for $500 less than you're offering it.
I suppose I have a less altruistic view of the business landscape. It seems like if it were completely unregulated, completely free market, that they take advantage of the consumers because the consumers have no other choice. I'm kind of held hostage. Like if they all decided, let's say that they all communicated with each other, as of course they do.
Well, then there are regulations against that. That'd be monopolism, and that'd be cronyism. Now, what we have in a problem here right now in our country is crony capitalism. That's what you just brought up.
Yeah.
It's that's monopolization. It's like what you have in the tech industry right now, is where, they basically got them in, people say, well, if you don't like Facebook, go start your own one. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You know what that would take?
Exactly.
You're going to start your own Google. What? Are you kidding me? So, they have a monopoly, and that's why they're talking about breaking up. No, but you have a very good, I think you're more of what I would call a classical liberal. You have a more open view, and you're open-minded, which is great. I would ask you to explore both sides more. Look at kind of like, look at more angles, because we're...
Sure.
They're what the powers that be are trying to do is trying to separate us. They're trying to
Well, it's worked for them pretty far.
Oh, indeed it has. But I think where the left is going right now is where I kind of was talking with that young lady from Venezuela. They're actually, there's a thing, I'm going to give you a little 101 here.
Sure.
The powers that be want a world government. They want to eviscerate nation states.
Okay.
There's a thing called Cloward and Piven. In 1964, two political scientists were approached and said, if you were going to bring down Western civilization, Western countries, how would you do it? This is, well, you can't do it militarily because they're strong, economically and everything relevant. So what you do is you infiltrate their educational system.
Okay.
You infiltrate the military. After you start brush fire wars, little brush fire wars everywhere.
Yeah.
And you create a lot of refugees. Then you play on the guilt of the host nations. You open up your border to these refugees, allow them to flood in, and you overwhelm the welfare system from the inside and bring these countries down economically, which is exactly what is happening in Europe, and it's what's happening here, what they're trying to do with the open border.
Okay.
So it's about forming a one world government. The left right now is aligned with the globalists. They are totally let's have that one world currency, let's have that one world government, have a socialist one world government.
Sure.
Wrong. That is what every tyrant has always sought. And once they gain full control, they will start eliminating us like they always have in mass. So the idea is to keep separate nation states, to keep each one of us proud of our heritage, keep each one of proud of what we do, keep our identities.
Well, I mean, man, I'm as proud of my Danish lineages as anybody, but I still retain my self-definition as liberal. I don't think that those two things can not necessarily coexist.
Oh, no, again, as a classical liberal that you seem to project, yes.
Okay.
That as where the liberalism of today, the elites of today in the Democratic Party, they don't want your liberalism.
That's fine. They don't have to, claim it. But
what they will do is they're not going to go, oh, we'll let you live. We'll let you. No, they will leave. They will come along eventually, say, our way or the highway.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. They're out to eviscerate your individualism, your right to go ahead and say, look, I just want to live. I just want to go ahead and live and let live.
Sure.
They don't want that. That's not them. They want to go ahead and totally eliminate your right to think freely and move about and do what you want to do.
Yeah.
So anyway,
as long as they pay for my college, I don't mind. That was just, I'm being funny.
Good job. All right, here's a get out of jail free card from Hillary Clinton.
Oh,
it's good for any crime in the world. Check out my YouTube channel. You'll see other conversations like this. You'll see the conversation I had earlier with the professor. And I like it because I get educated out here.
Yeah.
Speaking to professionals, speaking to people from around the world, and getting their perspective, like I gain your perspective.
For what it's worth.
Oh, well, yeah, it's worth something. It is. It's worth it. So I think you'll be a good writer.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And I also appreciate the simple conversation we can have despite being on, relatively both ends of the spectrum.
That's what I'm out here to try to show, that we can actually do this. We can get along. Pleasure talking to you, sir.
It's a pleasure's all mine, man.
Happy to go ahead and administer it to you.
Thank you.
Where are you guys from?
I'm from California. I love your American apple.
Well, thank you, lady. So, indeed, the Democratic hypocrisy test. Are you ready?
I hopefully am.
Yes.
Passed government with an A, so let's try this.
Did you really?
Yes, I did.
And what do you plan to do with this education?
I plan to become a teacher to teach maybe a little part of the government to others.
Oh, wonderful. I do that on a daily basis out here.
Why, thank you.
As well as I can.
Thanks for your service.
Good.
So let's get this started.
Indeed. Now, Recently, of course, in the news, there have been things that have come up about Donald Trump talking about giving it or taking information from foreign governments.
Not know this? Okay.
Well, I don't know if you noticed. Have you heard of that at all?
I think that he absolutely was in collusion with Russia and everything. They proved it. And we just kind of didn't say anything about it.
Well, of course, there was a 2-year investigation, which that was proven to be false. And collusion is not a crime, as it were. Anyway, it's not in the books. So the whole thing was kind of a farce to begin with. But do you believe that abortionists lecturing us on human rights is hypocritical?
So you believe that what?
Abortionists lecturing us on human rights. Is that hypocritical?
When you say it like that, it does sound like it's hypocritical. But I also believe that women have the right to choose, so I'm on the fence about that.
Whatever happens to their body, I believe, is their business.
Indeed, and what happens to the body that's within inside them?
Smell about it, comes out.
Okay, next question.
Yes.
Do you believe that transvestites, deviants, lecturing on us on morals is hypocritical?
No, I believe the way that you said that is hypocritical.
How so?
Because you called transvestites deviants.
No, and deviants.
And deviants.
Transvestites,
Why are they in the
deviants.
same category? I'm a big transvestite fan. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry. Voted for Hillary.
Sorry.
The woman who allegedly, there's another hypocrisy, who is supposed to be for women's rights, but shielded her husband from the rapes that he committed. That woman, that hypocrisy. You didn't think that was a
I believe, first of all, that was, let's say you're put in that situation.
Was what?
Or I'm put in that situation, let's say. How am I supposed to dress and not be hypocritical if I find that my husband raped a whole bunch of people?
Would you even stick with him?
No.
Thank you. So don't you think the fact that she actually defended him and defamed the women, yet is said to be a champion of women, don't you think that's a bit hypocritical?
Yes, but I also believe that our country has human second chances. Are we not?
Dear, we're talking about a public servant here that, is supposed to be a bit above the fray and not someone that goes around shielding someone from rapes and then just turns around to be a champion of women's rights. I'm sorry. All right, last question. Do you think it's hypocritical that we have socialists lecturing us on economics?
Socialists are the ones that believe in the government providing money and sourcing it to individuals, right?
Indeed, socialists believe in controlling the money, yeah. Why can't we control our own money? I mean, can you name me one socialist country that's worked?
I believe I know all fascist countries.
No, I'm asking you, can you name me one socialist country that
I happen to not know one.
There is none.
Because
so why should they be lecturing us on economics?
Well, that's a tough part.
I believe any lecture that you don't want to listen to, you should be able to turn off.
Oh, indeed, I find a lot of liberals do refuse to listen to the alternative views. That's why they're censoring. That's another hypocrisy. I find that, liberals right now, because I started out as a liberal. I used to be a liberal hippie. And back then it was all about free speech and ending the war. Well, now we have liberals stopping free speech in Berkeley, taking down sites off of the internet. So we have a great hypocrisy here where they say, oh, we're all inclusive, but not with things we don't agree with. So, I mean, define hate speech for me. What is that? The First Amendment specifically defines that, you know, that kind of speech is protected. There's nothing, lady, in the Constitution who's studying government, wishes to teach it, there is nothing in the Constitution about your feelings.
Fair, that is true, because it's all black and white from there on. But there also is people who are spouting hate speech from
What
churches.
is hate speech?
Basically,
But there
disputing
is the
someone
right to pursue
who is
happiness.
like, let's say,
Isn't happiness a
people
feeling?
who
Absolutely a feeling. There's a right to pursue happiness.
oh, that is true.
Happiness
The
is a
First
feeling. Thank you very
Amendment.
much for all your time. God bless
Okay.
you.
Sorry, we
God
were
bless
disagreeing
you.
on some
You
stuff,
did
but
fail
you're-
the test.
Well, I think I succeeded.
Yeah. That's what liberals do.
So what did I say, huh? First guy was pretty level-headed young man. Oh, God, that mother. Whew. All right. Go hit those buttons, baby. Keep me out there on the street. See you on the street.